What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Chris Ellis, your host. Welcome to the Dual Threat Podcast, the newest episode. Jay Breezy is off this week due to personal matters that I will not get into. But in today's episode, I will be breaking down the following things. Tonight, NFL preview, week number 1, Cowboys and the Super Bowl champions on tonight. The Chiefs and the Chargers on Friday, the YouTube exclusive, Buffalo and Baltimore on Sunday night, and Chicago, Minnesota on Monday night, along with some of the week 1 slate in the NFL. I will be picking each team who I think will win each contest, as I will throughout this whole NFL season. Along with that, I will be doing college football's week number 2, the changes in the AP poll, and my top 3 key games for the week 2 slate. And along with that, I will be breaking down the recap of the clash in Paris, which included a shocking development in the fatal 4-way match. And I will be entering, for the first one of many on this podcast, my top 5 NFL quarterbacks heading into week number 1 of the NFL season. But first, I want to get into the Clash in Paris recap, where we had 6 matches in Paris. The European crowds once again living up to the hype, the love for each of those superstars had. I mean, Clash in Paris, it lived up to its name and it lived up to the hype. But, once again, with WWE moving these major events into the global standpoint, you can tell that it was a huge, huge deal. But it's a great way to expand. So the first match that happened was Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed. I actually said on the prediction episode that I had Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed in my card, and I also said that Roman was going to defeat Bronson Reed at the Clash in Paris, and it seemed to me that I was right. Now, maybe if you've watched episode 1, I said that. Of course, Roman got his Shula Fala back before he was then pronounced out indefinitely due to the attack on the Vision. Jay came to the aid, but it didn't really matter. Roman Reigns is out indefinitely with multiple fractured ribs. I mean, it was brutal, but Roman won the love of Paris once again. Next, the Wyatt Six retained the tag team titles over the Street Profits. And I'm going to be honest, not many of these matchups were really like a big deal. I think there were 2 others we're going to get into eventually. I mean, the tag one I think was more of like, something had to be defended here. The next one, Becky Lynch retaining over Nikki Bella by pinfall in the Intercontinental match. We're going to get into her name actually later in the segment. Rusev and Sheamus. Rusev won by submission. I think this was more of a throw-in match, considering that Sheamus and Rusev have been battling on Raw for weeks, and this one was like, let's throw it all on the line. That's the way I look at it. The next 2, though, I think were the ones that were the best. I think these were the top 3 matchups. Roman and Bronson was one of them, but the other 2 were big. Secondly, John Cena, the farewell tour. He defeated Logan Paul in what was a very cool matchup. I mean, the way I was looking at it, I mean, Cena, Paul delivering blow to blow, A, frog splash, X, Y, and Z. Hey man, you can't see him, but you could see him winning as John Cena defeated Logan Paul. And it adds another big thing for John Cena. And I know tomorrow night's going to probably be a sad one because there's reports out there saying that it could be his last ever SmackDown episode. And what better place to do it than in CM Punk's hometown of Chicago? But speaking of CM Punk, the Fatal 4-Way was the main event match, and it had an end development. Jey Uso, LA Knight were both defeated. Rollins retains by defeating Punk, but the way he won, it was kind of crazy. Earlier in the episode, the Bronze were escorted out of the arena Paul Heyman went to the hospital because of Roman. So Seth was really all by himself with no help. Well, that was until we saw his wife low blow the guy he hates the most. And that was Becky Lynch making her run on the Vision as she is now involved in the Punk Rollins beef. And, and after I watched that episode, I looked at it and said, could AJ Lee return tomorrow night? Because that's the big speculation now, is the return of AJ Lee after watching her husband get low blowed by Becky Lynch, Seth's wife. I tell you what, man, this feud is never going to end, and the storyline is just going to continue on and on and on. I mean, and now I think the wives are getting involved. You could tell these are two guys that simply just don't like each other. But I'm going to be honest, man. I love the fact that they're getting thrown all these matches, but we need to see Hell in a Cell, no holds barred, no DQ. Because I feel like at this point, these guys are want to kill each other. And in just about 16 days, we're going to be having the WrestlePalooza on ESPN, and in which the next episode, when JD returns, we will dive into early predictions and early matchup guesses. But Rollins retained the title thanks to his wife. But other than that, man, I mean, Clash of Paris did not disappoint. I mean, and also what also happened at the Clash in Paris, I was going to bring it up, is that Sami Zayn dethroned Solo as U.S. title champ. So Sami now starts a U.S. title reign that happened on the SmackDown episode in Paris. So those are some key developments there. Sami getting the move to SmackDown now as the U.S. title champ, dethroning Solo. But other than that, man, we just have approximately 2 weeks before the WrestlePalooza in Indianapolis happens. It is on ESPN. It is a debut of the pay-per-view on ESPN, and it's going to be very, very interesting. But that is just my key things going into post-Clash in Paris. Plus, we're going to find out also tomorrow night what happens on the SmackDown episode, because this is being recorded prior to SmackDown. And so. But moving forward to my next segment, college football. Week 1 had some interesting developments. We also saw a lot of changes in the AP poll after my disastrous picks in week number 1. And I say disaster because it did not end well for much of my picks. Of course, the key ones were Texas and Ohio State, a low-scoring affair, gave Ohio State the win over Texas in a 14-7 final. Of course, and to go along with all of that, Ohio State is now the new number 1 team in the country because of that win. The second change was LSU moving up 6 spots in the standings thanks to winning in Clemson. It gave LSU the number 3 spot. And with Miami knocking off Notre Dame, Miami is now moved into the top 5. Texas moved to 7, Clemson moved to 8, Notre Dame moved to 9, South Carolina is now entered the top 10. Florida State, who was not ranked at all last week, knocking off Alabama, gave them seed number 14 in the polls, and Alabama dropping 13 spots after losing to Florida State on Saturday. Very huge drop, and that is going to be my main point of discussion. What is wrong in Alabama? A lot of things. I think Kalen DeBoer is not an SEC coach. You have to realize when you're coaching in the SEC, you're coaching literally future pro NFL players. And the reason I say that is because I look at the SEC as the NFL factory. I look at that conference as, okay, we're going to see a lot of NFL talent come out of here. But Alabama, this was a disappointing loss, especially when all the trash talk that Florida State was saying prior to this upset. But you have to think about this. I mean, Alabama has just not been, is Alabama like falling apart? I mean, this is just disappointing. And, Alabama is one of those programs where it's like everyone expects them to be in the national championship and expects them to win the SEC. But can Kalen DeBoer really live up to that? I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama fires him after 2 years, because that is also what people have been saying, especially from that Alabama fan base. Now, the next thing also is Texas. Texas went from number 1 to number 7. I think Texas for me was this when I saw them into the season. I had them, I would say, highest ceiling 12-0. The worst I think that I had them was like 9-3. But I think right now at the moment I could see 10-2 on paper for the Texas Longhorns. And I did say those two losses were either going to be, one was going to be against Ohio State, and which happened. But I also thought, that second loss I saw on that schedule, I'm looking at Georgia. But I'm not going to worry about that yet because that's later in the year. But moving now forward to week number 2, I will be looking into 3 top games of the slate. The first one is big noon Saturday, which means Fox. And the reason I say this is because Fox is going to be present at this campus, I believe. So in this case, it will be Iowa versus Iowa State. This one is an interstate rivalry, 2 schools that generally don't like each other. Dave Portnoy will actually not be at Ohio State for once because considering he's a Michigan alum, it's just not going to end well every time. Well, maybe he'll be safe because, when they go to the big house later in the year for the game. Of course, Big Noon is going to be at Iowa State, which is where it is. Iowa State coming off of that week, or are they 2? They're actually Iowa State is 2-0, coming off of a huge win over Kansas State in the week 0 game, and also knocking off some no-name school in week number 2. But in this case, Iowa is Big 10, Iowa State is Big 12. I'm going to take Iowa State to move to 3-0 on this season. I'm taking Iowa State over the Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't think Iowa is that good again. The second major game I came up with is actually Illinois and Duke. I don't know why I consider this game important. I just think it's because it's Illinois, Big Ten test on the road, Duke. It's one of those outside opponents you don't see much of all the time. So that's going to be the case. I'm taking Illinois over Duke. And also, I'm going to take Illinois over Duke. The last game of the day is Michigan, Oklahoma. That is the Saturday night slot, the college game day location, meaning ESPN will be there Saturday morning to cover the Michigan, Oklahoma game, which is another one of the big matchups of the season. You have Michigan ranked number 15, despite all the scandals being played in their heads, and you're battling Oklahoma. Both teams looking for a bounce back season. Oklahoma has a lot of pressure on them. There's a home game. It's Michigan. Michigan has done very well against the SEC the last few games. I mean, they did knock off Alabama last season. This is their This is Oklahoma, a new addition. They had Texas last year, but Texas was just too much. I think for this one, I'm going to take the Michigan Wolverines to knock off Oklahoma. I think it's Sharon Moore is going to get revenge on the Oklahoma Sooners in Normandy. I got the Michigan Wolverines moving to 2-0, possibly break into the top 12. And that is a huge, huge deal if Oklahoma loses this game. I think whoever wins this game might up their chances of making the college football playoff because you're looking at strength of schedule. But those are my key games in college football week number 2. And before I move into the next segment, I want to take a quick endorsement shout out, of course, to a brand new brand called Super Professional. Of course, this is a brand new brand created by a friend of the host, Chris Ellis. And shout out to my boy Mike. Check out, I'm going to put his Super Professional IG in the description. It is Super Professional. He's going to be dropping that shit Saturday. Check it out. Give him a follow. Dual Threat is going to be endorsing this clothing brand. I will be posting a link in the description for Super Professional. Make sure to check that out. Anyway, moving forward, and now we're moving into the big score, the NFL. We're moving forward with week number 1. It starts tonight with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Cowboys trading Micah Parsons to Green Bay. This could hurt them, and I think it will starting tonight. I have Philadelphia easily taking down the Dallas Cowboys. I think Jalen Hurts is going to put on a show tonight at home against the Dallas Cowboys. I think we're going to be seeing Stephen A. Smith tomorrow morning with a cowboy hat and cigar on First Take because that's how confident I am in the Cowboys losing. And maybe if we do another episode and if I bring Jay Breezy back, you will probably see me get all excited over the Cowboys losing, which is going to be a very big thing. I got the Eagles winning. You know what? If the Cowboys win, y'all can slam me in the comments. I really don't give a shit about it. But that is the night 1 Premier Week exclusive, the Champs and the Cowboys. The second game is a Friday night YouTube exclusive between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Herbert, Reed and Jim Harbaugh. I got the Kansas City Chiefs without question. I believe this game is also in Brazil. But I think because it's the Kansas City Chiefs, the refs bail them out. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City wins that matchup. And the Sunday night game, I am taking the Buffalo Bills to knock off the Baltimore Ravens. I got Buffalo, Josh Allen, MVP, Lamar. I think Lamar struggles in Buffalo. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. And on Monday Night Football, Vikings and the Bears, Monday Night Premiere, I'm going to be taking the Minnesota Vikings to knock off Chicago. I think J.J. McCarthy is going to put on a show in his first NFL start. I think Caleb Williams still has some growing pains to do. I got the Minnesota Vikings knocking off the Chicago Bears on Monday night. Now, before I move into any other games of the season, I'm going to take a look at some other key ones. I see that Pittsburgh and the Jets are going to be a big one. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, Jay Breezy, we hope when he returns, tell him that your boy went with the Pittsburgh Steelers because I know all the Jet fans are going to get mad at me in the comment section. The next one, and also Detroit and Green Bay. This is Micah Parsons' first game as a Packer. But I got the Detroit Lions upsetting Green Bay. Even if Micah plays, I'm still taking Detroit. The Lions have been cooking against the Packers in Lambeau the last few seasons. I'm taking Detroit over Green Bay. And last but not least, San Francisco and the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to be taking the San Francisco 49ers over Seattle. But sticking with the NFL, those are all of my picks for this Sunday. But it wouldn't be right without a top five. And today is the first installment of Easy's top five NFL quarterbacks heading into week number one. These are, in this case, my top five quarterbacks entering the season. So at number five, I have Jalen Hurts. I think this is a very debatable spot. People could say Justin Herbert. People could say Jaden Daniels. I explain why they're both not top five real quick before I move into Hurts. Justin Herbert is a playoff fraud. Let's put it that way. He has Jim Harbaugh. I know that's going to change. But I think Justin Herbert is a playoff choker. Justin Herbert can be great in the regular season, but he doesn't replicate it in the postseason. He's in the top 10, though. And Jaden Daniels, people put at number five. I think he's number six, and he's fighting for that fifth spot. And the reason why I don't put Jaden Daniels in the top five is because I can't judge him based off of one season in the NFL. Because last year he was a rookie, was one win away from the Super Bowl. I can't judge him based off of 1 year. It doesn't work for me. I think for me, number five is Jalen Hurts, who is now a Super Bowl champion and MVP. And let's be honest, Jalen Hurts is him. He led the Eagles to a Super Bowl. He beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Jaden Daniels lost to Jalen Hurts in the NFC Championship game. Make it make sense. Jalen Hurts almost had 3,000 passing yards. He only had 5 picks last season. He also had Saquon Barkley rushing 2,000 yards. You have A.J. Brown, who's going to be averaging 1,000 yards. Jalen Hurts has everything at his disposal, and that's why he's my number five quarterback. And yes, I will say it right now, Jalen Hurts is a top five quarterback. That is a hot take, straight up fact. I am taking Jalen Hurts over Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert. He is my number five on this list. Number four for me is Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar is the best dual threat quarterback out there in the NFL. This man is literally the modern day Michael Vick. I mean, he's broken every rushing record. He's consistent playoff contender every year. He threw for 4,000 yards last season, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Putting up that top five status, of course, Zay Flowers had 1,000 yards. Derrick Henry almost had 2,000. Lamar almost put up 1,000 yards rushing himself. I think Lamar Jackson, however, I don't think he can achieve in the playoffs. He's yet to make a Super Bowl. He's yet to make the game. He can't beat Patrick Mahomes. He can't beat Josh Allen. He can't beat anyone else that's ahead of him on this list. And that takes me into my number three. My number three is Joe Burrow. Joe Shiesty, I think, is one of the most talented quarterbacks on this list. But the reason I have him at three is because of who he plays for. He's on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals last season had one of the worst defenses, but had one of the best offenses. And the defense was a key reason why they missed the playoffs. But Joe Burrow really threw 43 touchdowns against 9 interceptions, nearly throwing for 5,000 yards. And Jamar Chase is literally the go-to. It's like the Brady Moss of the current day, except, they're not in New England, they're in Cincinnati. But I look at Cincinnati as very, very elite team. But the problem is when you have the Steelers and you have the Ravens, it makes things a little bit harder. And I think Burrow is going to be due for another great season going into 2025. But my number two player on this list is Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes, I think he's number two is because he doesn't have the Super Bowl bullshit that he had to endure the last few seasons. Remember, last season it was a three-peat attempt. He got to the game, but the Chiefs, I guess I could say, shit the bed because Mahomes had no solution for Jalen Hurts the second time. Of course, Mahomes threw 26 and 11. He threw for almost 4,000 yards, but he's going to be faced with challenges. Travis Kelce made major headlines for, proposing to Taylor Swift, and she said yes. Then you add on the fact that the Chiefs are basically the wide receivers for Kansas City are literally in jail because they can't figure out a way of staying out of trouble. Mahomes is going to be down Rashee Rice for 6 games. That's already an issue. Xavier Worthy is good, but can he make the leap forward? Then you have Kareem Hunt, who was literally a throw-in last season. He played only 13 games, and Isaiah Pacheco was also injured. Of course, the Chiefs and Travis Kelce, like I said, who knows what he's going to do? Because, the Taylor Swift things and the Mahomes things and the Chiefs scheduling, I already see it as it's going to be complicated for Mahomes. But he's the number 2 quarterback. He knows how to battle through all this, and that's why I have him at number 2. But my number 1 quarterback is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is literally the best quarterback in the NFL at the moment. This man threw 28 and 6. He won the MVP, and he also dominated the NFL. I mean, Buffalo couldn't beat Mahomes last year. And unfortunately, that wasn't really the case to why I would put Josh Allen number 1. I mean, in my book, he lost the NFC title game to the Chiefs by only 3. But Josh Allen, I think, is due for a bounce back year. And in my honest opinion, I think Mahomes and Josh Allen is literally modern day Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. These two get matched up the most, but Josh Allen is more of the Manning than he is the Brady. And the MVP needs to break through to a Super Bowl or at least beat Mahomes in these games, because right now it looks like Patrick Mahomes is just on a whole different level when it comes to dealing with the adversity. And Josh Allen cannot find a way to beat him come playoff time, or even if the weather got cold, or if his kicker doesn't kick the field goal wide right, which he's done a few times. And the worst thing about being a Buffalo sports fan for real is being on the wrong end of dynasties on multiple occasions. They were on the wrong end of the Giants Super Bowl in the 90s. They were on the wrong end of the Cowboy dynasty. They were on the wrong end of the Patriot dynasty. And now they're going to be on the wrong end of the Kansas City dynasty because, and it seems like a generational curse occurs to the Buffalo Bills, but it's Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is going to cook week number 1. I have him over Lamar. And at the end of the day, Josh Allen is the reigning MVP of the NFL. So that's what I trust. That is what I trust. So anyway, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Dual Threat. Jay Breezy will be back next week. And so I hope to have him back by then. But I hope y'all enjoyed my commentary, and I will see you guys in the next episode of the Dual Threat Podcast. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.